Welcome to episode, 5 now of the Star Wars Rewatch Podcast. I'm your host, Luca, and with me is another very special guest, my friend, Tyler. Say hello.
What's up?
What's up? I said, I made the comment earlier that I'm recording with the B team, but I'm going to go ahead and upgrade you to the A team.
Excellent.
Yes. A team. There's no A in commitment, but there should be.
If you say so.
Yes, I do say so. Bring that mic a little closer to your
right.
mouth. Yeah, get right up on it. Make love to the microphone. But we just watched episode 5 of Obi-Wan. And again, this entire time we've been saying that the show is getting better and better. Despite its flaws, despite whatever they might have going on. Sorry, I'm just reaching for the agenda I've been using.
Speak for yourself. I don't think it's getting better.
Yeah, okay. Well, you'll get to dump all over it as we go on. But last episode that you were a special guest, you kind of gave your Star Wars credentials, and we compared that to mine and some of the media that you're familiar with. And I was a little shocked that even though you had a Nintendo 64, you didn't play any of the games like... what was it? The big one on the N64 was Rogue Squadron, and then
Shadow of the Empire.
Shadows of the Empire. That had started off just flying around Hoth, shooting at probe droids, and then it eventually got to a part where you start shooting at. You're flying around the snowspeeder, which were featured in the previous episode, which was pretty cool because the sound effects of that were badass.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but N64 games were pretty expensive. Because they were on cartridges and not CDs.
Right.
So I think they were way more expensive than like what you would get for the PS1. So my library was pretty limited.
Well, yeah. So I think people showed throughout the years like a Nintendo Power magazine, and you saw what cartridge-based games went for. And like Super Mario 3, like some of the games were scratching like $70. Like. So much so that even Marge Simpson of The Simpsons complained that games in the 90s, could cost $70 easy. And now here we are in the late 1900s, 2022, and games regularly cost $70 if they're brand new. And I remember when, Generation 7 or 6, whatever, the PS3, 360, and whatever, games were $50 then, and then the developers, the programmers, everybody that made them complained, and they said, all right, you want more money? Well, we're passing it on to the customer, and then suddenly games cost $59.99 instead of $49.99, but didn't stop us from buying them, did it?
I'd be cool with that if they actually paid their employees appropriately.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was what the whole price increase was about. But that's us getting political about the gaming industry. So, in the last episode, man, I am sorry to say it has been a while. It's been a few weeks since we last recorded. And episode 4 was the one where, they invade or they sneak on to the... Inquisitor base and rescue Leia, and then the snow speeders or the air speeders show up and shoot their way out of there as Obi-Wan and Tala and Leia escape. And there was just some terrible action sequences in that, but also some good action sequences. And
like
what?
Definitely not the torture scene because that machine was going so slow.
Oh yeah, that's an Austin Powers reference right there. The unnecessarily slow dipping mechanism.
Did they need to put Princess Leia in a booster seat for that one?
Yeah. I think my brother made the comment in the previous episode. He's like, "Is that a child-sized torture device? Like, is that custom? Is it adjustable?
One size fits most."
Yeah, but let's see here. I guess that's my best recollection of the previous episode. There were some cool shots, but there were also some terrible moments with Tala taking out the officer that, it's like, what are you doing here? This isn't your sector. Or that's the overzealous security guard. And then there's the guy that's like, could you come here for a second? you're not supposed to be here, and you're using a terminal that's made for a different user. We need to check. We need to work this out. And then, yeah, she quietly takes him out, a mere 10 feet, 12 feet away from people that could potentially hear him or hear her doing this.
Right. And then there was like that other part where she was alone with 2 stormtroopers and she took them out in the most unconvincing way possible.
Yeah. Grabbing one, underhand by the helmet. And yeah, it was awful. But again, and then, of course, the very end when they sneak away and Obi-Wan has got Leia stuffed in his coat, those Gestapo-style jackets that they show throughout the episode people wearing, and they're like, okay, well, this will be a clever disguise.
I think that's the only time I've ever seen trench coats being worn by Imperial officers, and just for plot convenience.
It was written just for this episode. They're like, contact wardrobe, we're going to need some...
You need an excuse.
Yeah, some Imperial trench coats provided by Hugo Boss. But anyway, so that was what happened in the last episode. Do you want to give a recap of this episode, kind of what went down?
So basically it was a bad episode punctuated by some good scenes. Mm-hmm. But mostly a bad episode. So you can say it starts off with, I guess the overarching thing is this training sequence between Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah, which I liked.
I liked it, but also, why didn't they bother to at least do a little de-aging on Anakin's actor? It just looks weird, and I don't know if they were doing that on purpose because that's how he views himself in life at that moment.
God bless Ewan McGregor's genes, because the guy has not aged a day. Have you seen the memes where they show, 10 years later what he looks like? They're like, here's what he looked like 10 years before, and then here's Alec Guinness, what he looks like 10 years later. They're like, wear sunscreen, kids. Those are the memes. Exactly. But, yeah, apology accepted. Years were not kind. So, I don't know. What can you do? But... yeah, the Hayden Christensen. Yeah, he's definitely seen a few winters since 2005, which makes sense. But Ewan McGregor is a producer on the show, so maybe he cut Hayden Christensen's makeup budget, and he's like, no, he doesn't need that.
Make him look like garbage, not me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the hermit, but I look great.
But give us a summary. Give us a summary of the episode of what goes down.
So basically, what's the lady's name that's the Inquisitor?
Her name is Reva.
Reva becomes the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
And so she somehow tracks down Obi-Wan to the planet. I think that was in the last episode.
In the last episode, they show that Leia's, sorry, we've been drinking. How many beers in am I? At least 2. What are these, 16 ounce? Yeah, 2 16-ounce, 1 lager, and 1 IPA. Double IPA. Okay, well, there you go. And plus, I'm a lightweight, and you're Irish, so the deck is stacked against me. You have an unfair advantage. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, in the previous episode, Lola, they show which is, her sensor or her lights are glowing red now, which is a Star Wars universe sign that she's evil. Because it happens to C-3PO in
the 8th or the 9th.
The 9th movie, yeah. Which, gosh, I've only seen it once, which tells you, I bought all the movies on Blu-ray. I bought Star Wars trilogy when it was on the special editions where they were on VHS. I bought them again when they released them all on DVD. And then I bought them again when they were Amazon pre-order, months in advance. And they're like, pay $70 now. And, when it releases, you get it for $70. But if you wait until after that, then it's $100 for all 6 Blu-rays plus, whatever. And they piss people off because they changed stuff yet again on the movies. And then in the new movies, I bought Episode 7 when it released on Blu-ray, Episode 8 when it released on Blu-ray. But I did not buy Episode 9, which, as a Star Wars fan, I think says something if you're not willing to throw down money. But I guess at this point, I knew it was going to be on Disney Plus, so I was like, I could pump it into my brain at any minute if I wanted to. So why?
But are you gonna?
Yeah, yeah, and I still haven't watched it on Disney Plus since I've seen it in the theater.
Maybe you could do like a drinking game for any like plot hole or contrivance. Take a shot or something like that.
Yeah,
You might be in the hospital though, because there's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. With this, The Last Jedi. No, that was episode 8.
Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, that's what it's called. Wow. That is brutal.
Come on, Mr. Hardcore Star Wars fan.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I could be even more of a hardcore Star Wars fan, but this is what they've done to me at this point. But anyway, we get to this episode now, and they've chased. I guess I'm doing the summary. They've chased Obi-Wan, Leia, and their compatriots to the planet Jabim, and the Star Destroyer pulls in. It's just got them pinned down and doesn't start shooting or doesn't start bombarding their position. Just sends dropships down full of stormtroopers, death troopers, and what else? Reva, of course, the Inquisitor.
Right. Honestly, this whole series could have ended right here in like 5 minutes, where instead of closing the bay doors so they couldn't escape, just keep them open, jam the doors, and then send an orbital strike, just destroy everyone, end the show, end the episode.
Yeah, but we know it doesn't go down that way because we see Obi-Wan Kenobi in 3 more movies after this. And
right, so they kind of like put themselves into a corner, but at the same time, they say Vader has no patience for a siege, but they set them up to be sieged.
Right, a siege, like, what are we thinking as far as a siege is concerned? They know they don't have any heavy guns to oppose them. They know it's just refugees they're chasing down.
But they fortified the position for them.
Right, exactly. It's kind of wild. The one thing, but yeah, this leads to a much better ending for the rest of the series. This episode, I think, clocks in at like 42 minutes long or something like that. The next episode after this is close to an hour. But I think they did a good job. A lot of blasting takes place. A lot of Vader in this episode. And what's cool is you see him as Anakin, and you also see him as, Darth Vader. More lightsaber fighting, too, because it's Obi-Wan and Anakin training, which leads to something in the end of the episode, because they're like, what are they? Okay, why are they showing this? This is clearly a scene from episode 2 timeline. It wasn't something like in episode 3 where Anakin's hair is all long and shaggy.
Right.
He's still a Padawan. He's still wearing that like
the rat tail.
Yeah. He's still got the Padawan's ponytail, the Padawan's braid.
That's a rat tail. Don't get it twisted.
So I don't know. This is an interesting observation. Is that something that they just make all humans do if they're Padawans?
Yeah.
Or like, obviously, if you're Yoda, yeah, you have hair. If you're a foundling species, do they braid Yoda's or foundlings' hair as well?
I guess. But
what
like,
about all the other races that don't have hair, like lizard ones
or like Twi'leks? Like, do they make them tie their tentacles up?
Yeah, I think they do.
And then what happens when they become a knight? Do they cut the tentacles off? Because that was like the way they get promoted is they cut the rat tail off.
Right, yeah. They just released, I think recently, the Clone Wars 2D animated miniseries on Disney Plus. Did you see that?
Oh, the ones that are like 5-10 minute episodes where they don't really talk that much.
Yeah, it's animated by Gennady Tartakovsky, the guy that animated Samurai Jack and Dexter's Laboratory. Yeah, those are phenomenal, by the way. And I like that art style. Like if they had made the Clone Wars series in that art style, I would have been all over it. Mm-hmm. But instead they went CG. But we'll save that for another rewatch episode. My other co-host, Mike, has been talking it up, saying he's almost done with the series. And I'm like, what the fuck? Are you serious? And he's like, yeah, I'm almost done. He's like, it's pretty badass. And I'm like, okay, well, thanks for telling us about it.
Yes, master.
But, whatever. He's like, if we're going to do a rewatch for that, it's probably going to be, maybe we'll rewatch a whole season and then discuss it because it's a lot of episodes to get through. But moving right along. So the summary for the episode is just, again, Vader chasing down Obi-Wan and the machinations of Reva and, what she's doing to achieve that goal, more or less, and how we find out Lola's been bugged and eventually rescued because Leia finds the restraining bolt on her. But tell us, what did you like about the episode? What did you see that you did like?
I did like that training sequence with Anakin and Obi-Wan. I'm trying to think of what else I liked. I guess when Vader and Reva had their face-off, that was interesting.
Yeah.
But beyond that, those were like the only two parts that I actually enjoyed. Otherwise, it was just mostly really bad storytelling.
Yeah. So the story, I think people criticize the prequels a lot because, there's a lot of exposition, just dialogue, just saying what's happening rather than showing what's happening. But
Or
by
the
episode,
plot being about taxation.
yeah, shit like that. But when they show Obi-Wan and Anakin sparring again, it's great character development that doesn't necessarily tell you what they're thinking. Obi-Wan is teaching, Anakin a very valuable lesson, but it just shows them sparring together and the dialogue that they're having the dialogue exchange between them is relevant. You're learning more about the character of Anakin as he develops into a Padawan and eventually a Jedi Knight. And then it's it's obvious foreshadow to what's going to happen later in the episode. And they say, he doesn't have the patience for a siege. But the interaction between, again, actors that haven't been near each other in, 2022 to 2005.
Yeah.
17 years now? Or no, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's crazy.
A long time.
Yeah, that they still have the, even though you don't see Anakin's face very much in the series, still him acting alongside Ewan McGregor, you could tell that they're sort of happy to be back in these roles again. But I wrote down here in my notes that it was a nice callback, and they did a better job, just in these very brief scenes than they did in all the scenes of them together in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, which is based on Anakin's costume, the same time period.
And also less of the whining and moaning that his character had been associated with in the prequel trilogy. I'm glad they figured that out, because in that training sequence, he wasn't like that at all. It was a believable person, not a whiny punk.
And how he delivers some of his lines, still could be a little bit better in my opinion, but
He's probably rusty. I don't know what acting gigs he's had recently, but
yeah, that's true. I think that was the Star Wars curse at the time, just like they called it the Seinfeld curse for what happened to all the actors, with the exception of Jerry Seinfeld, and with the exception of Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who had a successful career, but not so much for Jason Alexander and Michael. What can't I think of his last name? Kramer, the actor that plays Kramer. I'm so sorry, Internet. I know I let you down.
I thought Kramer imploded his career by saying things he shouldn't have said.
Yes, to a live audience that had cell phones. Why can't I think of his name? Michael Richards.
Best.
Michael Richards. That's who he was. But anyway, I think after Star Wars, I think a lot of the actors were doomed too. Harrison Ford is the one that really only had a meaningful career afterwards. Mark Hamill. I'm really
Hamill had
talking
a good voice
shit.
acting career.
Yeah. Oh yeah, his voice acting career second to none. But his on-camera acting career, not so much. Same goes for Carrie Fisher, but I think towards the tail end of the 80s there, she went into rehab, which we all know how that worked out.
And I think with Mark Hamill, he has too much of a boyish appearance, so when he starts to get old, it just looks weird.
Yeah,
which I feel like is going to be what happens to Tom Holland.
but between episode 5 and 6, between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, he got into a car accident or a motorcycle accident and had to have facial reconstructive surgery.
Oh, really?
So he looks different in Return of the Jedi versus Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. But anyway, we're getting off topic here. So again, you see a little interaction between Vader and Reva as they're chasing down Obi-Wan. And there's a really cool shot of when they're traveling through hyperspace, or when Vader's like standing on the bridge of the Star Destroyer, and like you see the reflection of his helmet in the reflection of the, I don't know, I guess viewfinder, the glass, whatever it's called,
right,
of the Star Destroyer. That was cool. So again, I keep saying it over and over that A+ all around for the visual effects, for the cinematography. Everything looks fantastic. Where it all falls down is when people open their mouths, right?
Right. I mean, they could have done a way better job of, like, I guess if you took some of the money that you had used for the CGI and had invested in a better writing team, I think I would have appreciated that more than good visuals.
Sure.
Because if I wanted to see good visuals, I could just watch any movie.
Right, exactly.
Like, that's not what you watch TV for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you expect TV is a lower budget, so it's like, okay, well, where are they going to spend that lower budget? They have to stretch it out over the runtime of the series. If you want to show something, show us over time, which is why we expect a lot more out of the characters over time. So I think this is in our notes here. So we summarize the episode. What did we like? What did we didn't like? Obviously, as we get towards the end of the episode, there was a really good line by Obi-Wan. But just prior to that, you remember what when I guess they ask for like a ceasefire, or they ask to negotiate or something like that, and him and Reva are talking between the door.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about it.
I'm kind of not remembering like all of the details, but basically Obi-Wan figures out that Reva was one of the younglings that was there when Anakin Order 66 the whole place.
Right, yeah.
And I guess she was stabbed with the lightsaber.
Yeah,
which I guess everyone but Qui-Gon is not susceptible to instantly dying from that.
Well, I guess that means that Darth Maul hit him in a vital organ, but apparently wherever Reva got hit, not so vital. She was able to be salvaged by the Empire afterwards. They're like, hey, were we ordered to kill all these things? This one's still alive. Well, all right, well, resuscitate her, I guess.
You know what? She used the Force to move all of her vital organs out of the way. So it stabbed an empty space in her body cavity.
Yeah, but just prior to that, like when Obi-Wan's talking to all these refugees, again, he's like, all right, everyone, calm down. Don't worry. I know that Ewan McGregor is an executive producer on this, but so probably nobody's telling him like, hey, cut, you think you could run that again with maybe, I don't know, 10% more conviction and believability in what you're actually saying? But the writing, he's looking at the script and he's like, you want me to say this? And they're like, yep, Kathleen Kennedy signed off on it. And he's like, okay. And he's giving it about as much oomph as, he possibly can, which is a shame. But I don't know. It's just not believable. Like, he's saying these things, and I'm like, man, for as much grief as people give the original trilogy with him in it, and as bad as the dialogue was in those, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
He was my favorite in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah,
I'm sure he was for a lot of people. So just kind of sad to see him like this.
Yeah.
It's not like super likable anymore.
And you know what? There has to be a change in the character. He goes from being a, Jedi Grandmaster to being just this broken man that can barely wield the Force. But, he's committed at this point, or at least I'd like to think he's committed to rescuing Leia, because here he is so deep into the story, and he's got the help of, this Imperial spy, and he's gone and rescued Leia from the Inquisitor base, so he's taken a substantial amount of risk in order to do what he's doing. But I don't know. You'd think somebody that's done that, that's put their life on the line, would deliver their lines or, speak with a little bit more conviction.
Maybe he was disappointed that it was supposed to be a movie originally, wasn't it? And then they're like, nope, now it's a TV show.
I don't know. Send me that article.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the case. But again, we see Leia's acting, and they're like, I don't know, but the solution to the doors, the garage doors for the for getting out of this hangar are in that vent. And she's like, I'm gonna need a ladder. Again, way too confident for a 10-year-old.
But I guess you could also say the same thing about Anakin when he was a kid in Episode 1.
Yeah, and I think
he was also very adept at everything.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Kind of came off as unbelievable.
So, well,
and then they kind of like say it's because he's the chosen one.
Right. Yeah, they talked him up as being the chosen one back then, and they're like, yeah, the reason why he seems like he knows what's about to happen next is because he could literally see it happening before it actually does. He could see the future. It's just something we Jedi can do. But anyway, yeah, if I would say one thing I didn't like about the episode, it's the dialogue again. But that being said, there was one line that Obi-Wan has after the big laser blast fight, which he confronts Reva at the gate, and kind of it's like he's like, I know you know who Anakin is, and he again, how he discovers that she was a youngling, I don't know, but maybe he's reading her mind with the Force, and then she, they're close together, and she stabs her lightsaber into the blast door and then slices through the lock. That was a cool shot. And then after he kind of, you have that fight sequence, and then there's the droid, which I think his name was Ned B. God, again, that's how little I care. I don't remember. But again, the droid, a character that doesn't speak, that's, just a person that's wearing a green a suit that's green, so that way they could edit him out and post later. The inanimate object that doesn't talk displayed more humanity after Tala gets shot, than any of the other live actors combined.
Right.
Agree or disagree?
I agree. Also, the Empire should be recruiting more of that guy because he's OP as heck. He was just taking blast after blast, and it wasn't phasing him for like the longest time. Mm-hmm. So maybe the Empire should invest in some droids.
Yeah, these are those battle droid. Well, not necessarily battle droids.
They call it like a mining droid or something like that.
So, he's a loader droid. That's what he was.
Yeah.
And he just unloaded the cargo ship that they showed up on. But I think when they tried to pick up the cargo, I think all the crates levitated themselves off themselves. So he was just there, kind of like, I don't even know what he was doing, but I don't even remember the sequence. But didn't do much lifting or loading, let's put it that way, or unloading. But even in Rogue One, what's his name? Alan Tudyk is the body double for the K, the droid K. Even though you can't see his face, when you hear him deliver his lines, he displayed more humanity than either of the actors, than either Diego Luna that portrayed Andor, and what's her face? I can't even remember the actress's Stardust. I know that's what her father called her in.
From Rogue One.
The main actress. I can't think of the main actress's name, but yeah, Felicity Jones. That's her name, and Jyn Erso. Yeah, Cassian Andor. God, that tells you about their character.
It's either that or they're inundating you with too many movies and TV shows and side projects that you can't take a minute to catch your breath and because process everything.
So the solution to pollution is dilution. And now they're taking the Star Wars IP and they're diluting it with as much content as possible. They made three movie sequels, and then they made 2 spin-off sequels, Rogue One and a Solo. Again, Solo we didn't ask for. We'll rewatch that later. But the one line that was well written is after Obi-Wan surrenders after this big laser blast fight in the hallway, and he's like, "You're not bringing him to me. I'm bringing him to you." That I thought was kind of chilling, kind of revealing his hand a little bit, that he's got ulterior motives for what he's doing with Reva, and how they're sort of laying a trap for Vader. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Do you think that he was doing that to lay a trap for Vader, or that he was trying to get Reva killed by letting her give into her hate for Vader?
So yeah, that's an interesting point. Before that, he realizes, he's like, okay, so you were one of the younglings. She's like, yeah, Vader's on his way, and he's like, Vader? Don't you mean Anakin? And again, he's using the Force on her. He's got his hand to the door, which we all know is a universal sign of I'm using the Force. I don't put my hand up like this for nothing.
Right.
But so he communes with her, and he realizes that she was a youngling that, Anakin put his lightsaber to himself. He, tried to kill her once, and now here she is serving the very person that tried to kill her. So now, I guess because she's a inquisitor and has got some dark side energy flowing through her, he's appealing to her natural greed or natural, I don't know, just
rage.
Yeah, rage or anger. The Sith are kind of well known, at least in the extended universe, for backstabbing one another, which is why the whole rule of 2 was established.
That's a toxic work environment, bro.
Yes. But yeah, it gets really good towards the end there. You want to kind of tell us what happens next?
Does it get good though? Because
in my opinion, yeah.
Like, especially when they breach the walls and everyone's, in a firefight, but all of the refugees, they have no training, but they're all, they managed to get their little action pose in while they're firing their shots. It looked absolutely ridiculous. And then when the officer, what's her name? The one that was
Tala, the spy.
Yeah, when she sacrifices herself with the thermal detonator, that part was a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't she hold the thermal detonator for a little bit, then toss it, kill everyone on that side of the hall?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if Reva was concerned about the thermal detonator blast, why didn't she use the Force to push it out of Tala's hand, blow Obi-Wan to next week, end of the episode again? I feel like I've shortened this episode twice now.
Yeah. Again, that was a scene that I liked just because the droid, which, I don't know, isn't there... Ned B is definitely not a battle droid of any kind. He's a loader droid.
Should be, though.
But, well, right, earlier in episode 3, you see him holding like a wrench behind him as the stormtroopers are kind of searching, and it's like, what is he going to do? Is he going to wail on him? But they're talking to him. He's like, it's just a loader droid. They don't communicate. Don't worry about it. You're talking to a microwave, basically. But clearly he's been reprogrammed and... has the potential to kill a battle droid if they want. And later you see him wielding I think, what is it? He's holding it with one hand, but I think it's a battle droid rifle from the the first movie. It looks suspiciously like that. And
Really?
Yeah, I bet if I freeze framed it and took a closer look, I'm like, oh, cool. They're still using a 30-year-old rifle.
Maybe it's optimized for droids.
Or a 20-year-old rifle. Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. Because, yeah, I don't think he has 5 fingers. He's just got, 3...
Clamp hands.
3, yeah. But a clamp. That's a Futurama reference. Clamps was one of the mobster robots.
Oh, okay.
But a clamp, is what he says. But, again, a much better TV series. So we're getting towards the end here, and obviously the highlight is seeing Vader. He's trying to please the Emperor, which I don't think they've shown at this point. At least I don't remember if they do or don't. I think that's in the last episode. Yeah, which spoiler alert, but he's again, Reva is like, Kenobi's here, I got him, and then Kenobi clearly escapes because they left him with 2 stormtroopers, and then they show up, and he's walking through this hallway and walking still until finally when you see I don't know. You tell us. What do you see next?
Are you talking about when the ship takes off and he
stops it? And they do the rope-a-dope.
It's interesting because now he seems to have force powers, the equivalent to Force Unleashed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then it seems like after he did that, he had to have a cool-off period because he let the second ship go by no problem. He didn't even try. He's just like, oh, I guess you got me in my recharge period.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a 5 to 10 second cooldown anytime you use your force powers. I mean, come on, guys. This is a Star Wars video game 101 right here. You can't just use your force powers willy-nilly, not without using a cheat engine or a trainer, which I know my co-host AJ has done in some Star Wars games, specifically Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. He's like, why are you not using Force Lightning at all times, just walking through the level, holding down the F key, and just Force Lightning everyone? And I'm like, because I'm not a cheater. I want to play the game and enjoy the challenge on maximum difficulty. Fucking lame, bro. Just get it done. Just lightning all you want. And lightsaber all you want. And I'm like, okay.
If they didn't want you to use it, they wouldn't have put it in the game.
Well, no, this is a trainer that he installed to give him unlimited force powers.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't drain his power.
Nice.
Yeah, I know, right? What a way to play the game. But after this whole, so it was pretty badass to see Vader, hold the ship down with the Force. That was cool. And it's like, okay, we're finally seeing what the Force can do in another light compared to what we've seen in video games versus what we've seen in the movies. And then, he tears it apart, just rips the hull open and finds that it's empty, and they did the old, switcheroo. But after that, you find Reva's plan, what was her plan? Was her plan just to take revenge?
Yeah, like to stab him in the back. But, like, he was no longer distracted at that point. So,
right.
So it's like, well, or you're just like, oh, I missed my chance. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, right. But he's there and, doing all his menacing stuff. And then, after he's used the Force a bunch, suddenly she decides to sneak up after he's had a moment to think where he's not distracted. And, again, I will say this was badass to see. Because he's not even using his lightsaber. He's like, what? He's like, you think you could take me? Really? And he's like, okay. And not only does he not use his lightsaber, he takes her lightsaber from her, 2 or 3 times during the fight and doesn't even bother to use his, just using his hands and using the Force.
He's got to practice his B game.
But I don't know. It kind of makes you wonder because here he is doing this to an Inquisitor, which, I don't know, did we ever see Obi-Wan and Reva fight one-on-one with their lightsabers? No.
I don't
It was
remember.
just Obi-Wan and Anakin, or Obi-Wan and Vader fighting again. So, again, long sigh as to what happens. But it was cool to see because then they intercut between her as a youngling running from from Vader, and then hear her as an Inquisitor who's supposed to be looking up to Vader, working for Vader, now being stabbed by him again, which
and not dying from it.
right, yeah. I made the comment when we were watching the episode that a lightsaber, like, unless you mortally wound somebody every time, it's the worst weapon to have, because you cauterize every potential wound
Right.
that someone could die from blood loss.
Anakin had already pioneered the Dooku method. Just take 2 lightsabers and cut the head off.
Yeah, exactly.
He had the 2 lightsabers. He could have done it.
Oh, okay. So this is a callback to episode 3 when
Yeah.
he slices off Count Dooku's hands in front of Palpatine. And then, the lightsaber goes flying up into the air, and then he catches it and then forms an X around Dooku's neck. And, yeah, he didn't do that, but, yeah, he did. Do it. Yeah. Do I have Emperor Palpatine's loaded up in the soundboard? No. But I do have the... Yes, Master. That's one my brother requested. I don't know why. But I guess it's one of his favorite lines from all of the series in Revenge of the Sith. Do we stay on topic here? I don't know. What could they have done differently to make the episode better?
They could have just not had the episode. I feel like this whole series is just exercise in futility. Like, there was no need to have this. It didn't enrich anything for me.
Cash grab.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Stringing you along for another month on Disney Plus.
Yes. All right. Well, as long as there's 6 episodes, we get to charge them for 2 months.
Yeah.
Charge them for 1 month. They get episode 1 through 4. And you want to see episode 5 and 6? We got to bill you for another month. I'm sorry. It's so funny that this is what's happening now, and how it's like the anti-Netflix, or anti-Netflix. Always the dialogue can be improved. People's acting is, again, not great. It's clear that they do things in one take, where they're like, all right, we're going to rehearse your lines, just get them up, and if we need to re-record again, we will. And usually it's just like, all right, there's one take, go. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it seems like. But again, the very end of the episode, after Reva gets killed, you see the Grand Inquisitor show up, which twist. Didn't Vader promote her to Grand Inquisitor? Did he know that the Grand Inquisitor was still alive?
Also, another person that survives being stabbed through the abdomen.
Yeah, but again, the first words out of his mouth, "Hello, third sister." It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? That's what you have to say? It just makes me want to dive bomb the whole series with a TIE fighter. So yeah, and then he's like, "Hello," and then I think he even says, "Goodbye, third sister," and I'm like, why? Who wrote this? Why did the actor not have any liberty to, he's doing his best to act menacing. Couldn't he have ad-libbed a couple menacing lines that would have, went over a little better?
Maybe you just thought this is how his, alien species acts. You address the person formally, and then you end the conversation formally.
Yeah, right.
Goodbye, third sister.
That reminds me, again, of another TV show of, again, Back to Futurama, when there's it's Zap Brannigan. You know that character?
No.
No.
Is he the guy that is like
Leela.
the space cadet guy?
Yeah. Leela. My plan is so simple an idiot could have devised it. We're going to fly into the enemy cannons, clogging them with wreckage. They won't be able to fire their weapons at us. But yeah, he's got a very stereotypical voice. But apparently there's some conference and there's some faction that's completely neutral, or some race of aliens that they're completely neutral. And when one of them is dying, he's like, "Tell my wife I said hello."
What up?
He can't express love or hatred. So he just says something neutral.
Please express my greetings to my wife.
Yeah. And Zap Brannigan's like, leave it to these stupid aliens and their neutrality. not taking a side. He's like, he thinks they're despicable, but yeah, he ends up getting them killed because he's supposed to be cutting the ribbon. I don't know. I don't remember the episode, that's what I remember of the episode. And of course, I think the aliens were colored gray, so they weren't black, they weren't white, they were just gray. So about as neutral as you could
very
get.
drab.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't know. Yeah, other than making better dialogue and having the actors commit to that dialogue a little better, is there anything else you'd change?
No, I think that would remedy like 90% of the problems I have with this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think you brought up an interesting point. You're like, yeah, I'm unfulfilled by what happens. I know Obi-Wan survives, but like, what story could they have told? Like, if you were going to start the series over, like, where would you start from about if you're telling a story about Obi-Wan?
I would have known better to not start a show like this
Mm-hmm.
because you have the future already written. You can't change anything, and you've written yourself into a corner before you even started.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no like tension in anything that's going on because you know that Leia survives, Obi-Wan survives, Vader survives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like all of the main players survive. So it's really just all these little small characters that you were only introduced in the show for very little amounts of time.
Right.
And when they die, you don't care.
And it's like, not only that, they have the Clone Wars series. They have, 8 seasons of an animated series, which develops Anakin's character and Obi-Wan's character. And you get to see, what it's like just them fighting a war together for 10 years straight, like what that's all about. So
That show has its own fair bit of filler, though, from what I've heard.
yeah, I'm sure it's in there.
I mean, there's whole guides of like which episodes you need to watch for story versus ones that are just filler garbage.
Right. The movie that came out before the show did totally turned me off to it. But my brother Mike and my other co-host AJ have been talking about it, and they're like, "We gotta watch it, bro. We gotta watch it. It's so good." And I'm like, "Okay." I didn't find it interesting then, but I'm gonna give it a go because not only do you have you've got that show, then you've got Rebels, and then you've got the Bad Batch. I just get a new animation style. Do they have to use the same animation style for 3 separate shows?
Maybe it's cheap. After they've developed it at this point, they have like all the assets that they can just keep using over and over again.
But to go to something 2D, I mean, just for the sake of it, I don't know why that would upset people. The the Star Wars Visions, they had some that were, they went to Japan and gave a bunch of Japanese animators. They're like, hey, we want you to make your own standalone Star Wars story. Do whatever you want. And clearly some of them did a much better job with that than others did.
But it might be an easier pill to swallow because everyone knows it's an anthology series and it's only like tangentially related to Star Wars canon, so it's not like...
But you know what? I bet Disney's going to take that data and they're going to say, you know what? This episode here was the most popular. So you know what? You get your chance now. Develop this into whatever you want, and who cares? You had carte blanche before. Now we'll take your characters and move them around, or maybe we'll bring in our own bullshit characters from the other stories we've already populated, and let that make them run around. Maybe suddenly Anakin and Obi-Wan will show up, and this will be a planet where there's a major battle of the Clone Wars. But anywho, that's all I have to say about it. Let's see, how's our runtime looking right now? Oh shit, we've been talking for an hour about this. What do you think? Any other final thoughts?
No, I think I've covered everything at this point.
Okay.
My grievances.
Okay, those are your grievances. Chewie, get us out of here.